Etsy or Shopify? If you are just getting started selling your handmade products online, you might be wondering which one of these tools is right for your handmade business. Well, there are pros and cons to both, and in this video, we're going to talk about what those are and help you decide which e-commerce platform is right for your handmade business. Hi, this is Badass Creatives, and I'm Mallory Whitfield, your marketing mentor for artists and makers who want to market their products in a way that feels authentic and sustainable for you and won't lead to burnout. I've taught marketing to hundreds of creative entrepreneurs. I'm a frequent speaker at events like Craftcation Conference. I've taught at Tulane University School of Professional Advancement, and I run my own program, the Badass Creatives Marketing Accelerator. Okay, so first let's talk about Etsy. Etsy's been around since about 2005. I actually started my first handmade business about a year before Etsy. And in those days, pre-Etsy, it was really difficult to figure out how to sell your products online. It was so complicated. And so when Etsy first launched, it was really exciting for the handmade community. I actually entered and won third place in Etsy's Upcycle contest in 2007. They bought my FEMA blue tarp dress and had it on display in Etsy Labs in Brooklyn for their opening night celebration. But a lot has changed since then. When Etsy first started, it was really easy to launch a shop, get some traffic, make sales, build a following. But now the competition is stiff. It's grown into this huge online marketplace, which has both its pros and cons. When Etsy first started, the focus was purely on handmade products and vintage goods. But as it's grown, they've added more offerings, things like craft supplies, digital downloads. And while those options are great in some ways, they also dilute the focus from handmade crafts. And as Etsy has grown, so have the fees. In addition to the transaction fees, credit card fees that you're gonna have to pay on almost any e-commerce platform, Etsy also has listing fees. So every time you list a product, you have to pay a fee. Here are some pros of selling on Etsy. It's an established marketplace and it's been around for a while, so it's got built-in traffic, which could mean some potential sales for you. And it's trustworthy among consumers. People think of buying handmade online, they think of Etsy. Etsy is also easy to use and to get started on. If you've never sold anything online before, Etsy really is a good place to start and sort of test the waters. It's also low risk and low commitment if you're just getting started. So if you're like, I don't even know if I want to have a handmade business, I'm just thinking about selling some things online, I want to see how it goes first, Etsy's great for that because you don't have to commit to long-term things like website hosting and domain names and all of that. And there's a lot of community and camaraderie when it comes to selling on Etsy. In addition to resources that they provide, like the seller handbook, there's also forums and teams so you can get advice and help from other Etsy sellers. But there's cons to selling on Etsy. Remember those fees that I mentioned earlier? They seem to just keep rising. In fact, in April 2022, a lot of sellers went on strike to protest those continually rising fees. And look, no matter where you sell online, you're gonna have to deal with some sort of fees. Those are just a cost of doing business. If you wanna take credit card transactions in some form, they're gonna charge a fee. It's just that those fees might be different depending on what platforms you use. Competition is a big con of selling on Etsy. While it's great that it's this huge marketplace and it can bring you traffic, you're also competing directly with all your competitors. And when people shop on Etsy, they don't really think of shopping with your specific brand and your specific store. The thing that they go away from remembering is that they bought a thing on Etsy. When you sell on Etsy, you have limited control over how you can differentiate yourself from all of that competition. You can't really have a lot of control when it comes to branding. Yeah, you can upload a banner image and a shop icon and you can change your shop's name, but at the end of the day, your shop looks like an Etsy shop. It doesn't look like your unique storefront online. And that limited control extends to all sorts of aspects of Etsy. They could change their policies about what's allowed to be sold on Etsy, meaning that your shop could potentially be removed without much warning. It's happened to lots of folks before. And your customers on Etsy aren't really yours. Like, you can't collect their contact information. You can't collect their email addresses. So at the end of the day, if something happens and Etsy makes a big change, you could be screwed. So before we move on to the pros and cons of selling on Shopify, if this video has been helpful so far, can you give it a thumbs up? That really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps this video get seen by more people. Now let's talk about some of the pros of selling on Shopify. When you sell on Shopify or other e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce or WooCommerce, You have control. You get to decide what works best for your business and your customers. You'll be able to totally customize the branding of your online shop. So you can make your shop feel as uniquely yours as if somebody shopped with you at a craft fair or an in-person event, or even in a brick and mortar store. Shopify also offers some great marketing and search engine optimization tools to help you promote your shop to customers. You can set up things like abandoned cart emails, do text messaging directly to your customers, or even connect your shop directly to Pinterest so that you can do shoppable pins. Shopify is also built to scale. It can accommodate all sorts of e-commerce businesses. So whether you have dreams of growing your handmade business to a large scale, or you want to open a brick and mortar store and integrate it with a point of sale system, or if you want to sell wholesale, Shopify can handle it. Now, of course, there are some cons to selling on Shopify. No platform is perfect for everyone in every situation. With Shopify or any e-commerce platform, you are responsible for marketing your handmade business. There's not some magic traffic fairy that's just going to bring the customers through your virtual doors. But here's the thing, you should really be building a marketing strategy for your business no matter what platform you sell on. If you are running a handmade business, part of running a business is having a marketing strategy. With Shopify, there can be more of a learning curve than with something like Etsy. Now, you can customize it to your heart's content, but if you've never set up a website before, or if you don't consider yourself a very technical person, it could feel overwhelming. You may end up wanting to hire somebody to help you set it up exactly like you want it. And with Shopify, while it is super customizable, some of those extra bells and whistles may come via apps and integrations that could have additional fees. Now, all of those costs could vary. Shopify is really, like I said, built to scale, so it works for so many different types of businesses. So you kind of have to figure out what features are really critical for your business and what those costs would end up being. Okay, so Etsy or Shopify, what's right for your handmade business? The answer is you don't have to pick and choose. You could use both. It's perfectly fine to do so. Etsy is a great place to start if you are just getting started with your craft business. I just don't recommend that you solely rely on Etsy for the long term. And when it comes to building your e-commerce website outside of Etsy, you don't have to do Shopify. There are other options. Like I said, BigCommerce and WooCommerce are a couple of Shopify's competitors. That said, I and most of the e-commerce experts that I know do recommend Shopify for the majority of e-commerce businesses. One of my favorite Shopify experts is a company called Aeolidia. In full disclosure, I used to work on their marketing team, but I've been a fan of theirs for years. They've been around for nearly 2 decades. I'm pretty sure they predate Etsy. They've built websites for a lot of really successful artists and makers and handmade businesses, including Lisa Congdon. Aeolidia has a great free-to-use Etsy versus Shopify fee calculator on their website, which I'll drop a link to below in the description. So, based on everything we talked about, what do you feel is right for your handmade business? Etsy, Shopify, both, another option entirely? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you're struggling to figure out all the tech stuff when it comes to marketing your handmade business, I can help. In my program, the Badass Creatives Marketing Accelerator, I'll help simplify things like e-commerce and search engine optimization. You can learn more about the program and apply at badasscreatives.com. I'll be putting out new videos each week, so be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what marketing topics you want to learn more about. I'll see you in the next video.